Hello, my name is John Mason, and welcome to the first of what I hope is many series that I call Baseball and Bobbleheads. When deciding on who would be the first person I'd cover in this series, I had several players in mind that I wanted to cover for the flagship video, but my mind kept returning to one man. This is a man who, to many, including myself, considered not only the greatest ambassador to the game of baseball, but also a superb example of humanity's possibilities if we release hate from our heart. So that in mind, I chose Buck O'Neil. John Jordan O'Neil was born November 13th, 1911 in Carabel, Florida. He was the middle child of three and received his first taste of professional baseball at the age of 12. He traveled throughout Florida as a member of the Sarasota Tigers. It was also during this time that he took his nickname Buck, which he took from Miami Giants co-owner Buck O'Neil. To support himself, he shined shoes and worked as a box boy, which wasn't to his liking, so he decided that a career in baseball would suit him better. After Buck finished 8th grade, he was not allowed into the Sarasota High School because of his skin color, so he worked a summer with his father, also named John, in a celery field. He then left home to live with relatives so he could attend high school at Edward Waters College in Jacksonville. Buck earned a college scholarship in both baseball and football to the same school and attended 2 years of college before leaving school to play baseball in 1934. Buck bounced around different teams for several years before he was signed by the Memphis Red Sox at $100 per month, where he played 2 games before his contract was sold to the Kansas City Monarchs. He was originally scouted by Negro League star Cool Papa Bell. During the 1942 Negro World Series, Buck batted .353, in which the Monarchs beat the Homestead Grays in a 4-game sweep. O'Neil won batting titles in both 1940 and 1946 and also played in the All-Star Classic in 1942, 1943, and again in 1949. In 1944, Buck temporarily left baseball to enlist in the United States Navy for a 2-year stint. Buck was proud to serve his country during World War II, but always regretted that he was not with the Monarchs in 1945, which was the year Jackie Robinson played for Kansas City before being signed by the Major League Baseball team, the Brooklyn Dodgers. After World War II ended, Buck returned to the Monarchs in 1946 and married his sweetheart, Ora Owen, who was a school teacher in Memphis, Tennessee. In 1948, O'Neil became the player manager for the Monarchs, leading them to league pennants in 1948, 1950, 1951, and 1953, and along the way grabbed 2 Negro League World Series titles. In 1956, Buck left the Monarchs to scout for the Chicago Cubs and broke the color barrier in 1962 by becoming the first African American coach in Major League Baseball. Realizing the Cubs would never make him manager, Buck left coaching and returned to scouting for the Cubs, where he is credited with signing players like Lou Brock, Oscar Gamble, Joe Carter, and Lee Smith to Chicago. He remained with the Cubs until 1988. The following year, Buck returned to Kansas City to scout for the Kansas City Royals, a position he held until his death in 2006. In 1998, Buck was named the Midwest Scout of the Year. It's very important that we know our history. We have to do that. Not a sad story, it's a celebration. Buck O'Neil. Buck began raising money in 1990 for a museum to educate, preserve, and celebrate the history of the Negro Leagues. These efforts led to the opening of the Negro League Baseball Museum in Kansas City, Missouri. In 1994, Buck was featured in the Ken Burns documentary Baseball. Burns said of Buck, "He's the conscience of the program. Because of his dignity, his lack of bitterness, and his sense of humor, Buck makes a wonderful ambassador for the game." Buck's autobiography, I Was Right on Time, My Journey from Negro Leagues to the Majors, was published in 1996. While remaining active in the Royals organization during the late 1990s, Buck served as the chairman of the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum Board of Directors and also a member of the Veterans Committee of the National Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, New York. In 2006, Buck was the nominee was one of the nominees to be inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame. He was one vote short. Bob Kendrick, the current president of the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum and caretaker of its history, said that one of the hardest tasks he has ever had to perform was to tell Buck that he didn't make it in. His fans joined together and promised to make amends for what they perceived to be an error in judgment, but true to his form, Buck said, "Don't shed any tears. You think about this. Here I am, the grandson of a slave, and here the whole world was excited about whether I was going into the Hall of Fame or not. We have come a long way." Buck did not hold a grudge. He even hosted the induction ceremony in Cooperstown with the same charismatic charm and grace he had become known for throughout his life. Buck became the oldest person to play professional baseball during the 2006 Northern All-Star Game, where he batted twice at the age of 94. John Jordan Buck O'Neill passed away on October 6, 2006, from fatigue in Kansas City, Missouri. He is remembered not only as a legend in the game of baseball, but also as one of the finest players ever to take the field in the Negro Leagues. Because of his generosity in sharing the history and his memories of the Negro Leagues, this fan, along with countless others, have a greater understanding and appreciation of a period in baseball history that is in danger of being forgotten. Buck's spirit is still celebrated at every Royals home game, where one person who has shown outstanding service to the Kansas City community is chosen to enjoy the game from Buck's seat at Kauffman Stadium. Buck is also honored by the National Baseball Hall of Fame's Buck O'Neill Lifetime Achievement Award, which is presented to an individual whose extraordinary efforts have enhanced baseball's positive impact on the society, broadened the game's appeal, and whose character, integrity, and dignity are comparable to the qualities Buck exhibited throughout his life. This bobblehead that was an SGA for the Kansas City Royals, I like it very much. It shows Buck O'Neill not only keeping score in a Kansas City Royals jacket, but this red seat, this is what the Buck O'Neill legacy seat that special fan for each game can sit in looks like. It's a red seat located in Kauffman Stadium. To honor his legacy, the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum, with Mr. Bob Kendrick at the helm, raised money to open the John Buck O'Neill Education and Research Center in Kansas City. During the summer of 2018, vandals broke into the new center, destroyed a water pipe which flooded the building, causing over $500,000 in damages. The insurance company has denied the initial claim, so your help is needed more than ever. If you would like to help with a financial donation, please visit www.nlbm.com and click on the red donation bucket at the homepage. You can follow me on Twitter at Baseball and Bobbleheads, at JohnMason76. And you can also like my Facebook page, Baseball and Bobbleheads, by searching John Mason 76. I leave you now with some of my favorite Buck O'Neill life lessons. Buck O'Neill said, "Tell people you love them. Listen to old people tell stories. They might teach you something. Sing a little every day. Be there for old friends. Root for the Royals. They're a good young team. They make you feel alive because they play so hard, and that's what baseball is all about. Hold hands with the person next to you. That way they can't get away, and neither can you. Don't smoke any of those leaves or put anything up your nose." One of my favorites. Hug everybody you can, especially the pretty women. Drain the bitterness out of your heart. Don't let anger boil up inside you. There's too much anger out there already. Learn your history. It's a wonderful history. And finally, you can be ugly if you want to, but God didn't make you that way. I hope you enjoyed my first Baseball and Bobbleheads educational video, and I'll see you next time. Have a good day.